holy, holy.
Who is worthy to open the scroll and break its seals?
The half-hour silence in heaven, the final pause before the end of the world. Heaven, where songs of praise echo through eternity, where the cherubim and seraphim cry out in endless adoration, where the multitudes of saints rejoice in the presence of God. But then something happens, the voices stop, the music fades, and for the first time in the history of heaven, there is complete and utter silence. Not for a moment, not for a breath, but for half an hour. 30 minutes where heaven holds its breath. What could cause such an event? What could be so terrifying, so awe-inspiring, that heaven itself would fall silent? To answer this, we must journey into the heart of the greatest prophetic vision ever given, the book of Revelation. John, the beloved disciple, was taken up into the heavens. There, before him, was the throne of God, surrounded by angels, elders, and living creatures. In God's right hand, he saw a scroll sealed with 7 seals. But no one in heaven, on earth, or under the earth was found worthy to open it. No angel dared to break the seals. No man had the authority. Not even the greatest prophets could touch it. John began to weep, because this scroll contained the destiny of the world. The final decree of God's judgment, and no one could unveil its mystery. Then a voice thundered, "Do not weep. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the Root of David, has triumphed. He is worthy to open the scroll." John turned, and there stood the Lamb of God, Jesus Christ, the one who was slain for the sins of the world. He took the scroll from the hand of the Almighty, and as he began to break the seals, the end of the world was set into motion. Each seal he broke brought forth a new event, a new judgment upon the earth. The first seal, the rise of the false Messiah. As Jesus broke the first seal, John saw a white horse. Its rider held a bow, and a crown was given to him. He rode out as a conqueror, bent on conquest. Many have misunderstood this rider, believing him to be Christ, but he is not. This is the false Messiah, the Antichrist, a deceiver who will come in peace, offering solutions to the world's chaos, but his true intent will be domination. He does not carry a sword, only a bow, yet no arrows are mentioned. He will conquer not by war, but by deception. He will unite nations under his rule, promising peace, but will prepare the world for destruction. The second seal, the spirit of war. When the second seal was broken, a fiery red horse appeared. Its rider was given a great sword, and power was granted to take peace from the earth. War. Nation will rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. The peace that was promised by the first rider will shatter, and bloodshed will cover the earth. This is not just any war, it is a global war, unlike anything mankind has ever seen. Governments will collapse, people will turn against one another, and the world will spiral into violence and chaos. The third seal, famine and economic collapse. As the third seal was opened, a black horse emerged. Its rider held a pair of scales in his hand. Then a voice cried, "A quart of wheat for a day's wages, and 3 quarts of barley for a day's wages. But do not touch the oil and the wine." This is a time of famine where food becomes scarce, and the cost of survival becomes unbearable. The rich will hoard their luxury, untouched by the suffering of the poor. Starvation will spread across the land. Inflation, economic collapse, and the suffering of the masses will follow. The fourth seal, death claims a quarter of the earth. The fourth seal revealed a pale horse, the color of decay and disease. Its rider was called Death, and Hades followed behind him. This is the Grim Reaper himself, given power to kill 1/4 of the world's population through the sword, famine, plague, wild beasts. The world will be plunged into a nightmare. Billions will perish. The earth will be drenched in suffering. The fifth seal, the cry of the martyrs. When the fifth seal was broken, John saw the souls of the martyrs crying out from under the altar, "How long, O Lord, before you avenge our blood?" These are the believers who have been killed for their faith, those who stood firm against evil, who refused to bow to the Antichrist. They plead for justice, but God tells them to wait just a little longer until the full number of their brethren join them in martyrdom. Persecution will rise. Christians and all who refuse the Antichrist system will be hunted down. The sixth seal, the great cosmic upheaval. Then the sixth seal was opened, and the world itself shook. A massive earthquake, greater than any before, split the land apart. The sun turned black, the moon became like blood. Stars fell from the sky, crashing upon the earth. Mountains and islands were moved from their places, and terror gripped the hearts of all men. The mighty, the kings, the rich, and the poor, they hid in caves and begged the mountains to fall on them, for they knew the wrath of the Lamb had come. The seventh seal, the silence before the storm. And then, Jesus broke the seventh seal, and heaven fell silent. For 30 minutes, not a sound was heard. Why? Because what was about to come was so terrifying that all of creation held its breath. The 7 trumpets were about to sound. Each trumpet would bring plagues, destruction, and the final war between heaven and hell. The silence was the pause before the final storm, the moment before the full fury of God was unleashed upon the earth. This silence marks the final countdown to the second coming of Jesus Christ. He will return not as a suffering servant, but as a conquering king. The half-hour silence in heaven described in Revelation is one of the most mysterious moments in biblical prophecy. To understand its meaning, we must examine the seals that precede it and the events that follow. The seals, broken one by one, reveal a divine sequence leading to the end of the world and the return of Christ. The first 4 seals bring the 4 horsemen, deception, war, famine, and death, followed by the 5th seal, which reveals the cries of martyred saints seeking justice. The 6th seal shakes the heavens and the earth, a great earthquake, the sun turning black, the moon turning blood red, and stars falling from the sky. The world will be in chaos, and then suddenly, silence. This 30-minute silence in heaven is not emptiness, but a pause before the final storm. Heaven, which is always filled with worship, suddenly stops. This silence signifies the weight of what is about to happen, a moment of divine anticipation before God's ultimate judgment unfolds. It is the last warning before the 7 trumpets sound, each bringing catastrophic events: hail and fire, poisoned waters, darkness, demonic torment, and global destruction. It is the moment before Christ steps in to reclaim the world. After the silence, the final phase of God's plan begins, culminating in the return of Jesus Christ. He comes not as a suffering servant, but as a conquering king, leading the armies of heaven. The Antichrist and all who oppose God are defeated in an instant, and the final judgment takes place. The righteous are rewarded, the wicked are cast into the lake of fire, and Satan's bound forever. A new heaven and a new earth emerge, where there is no more death, pain, or sorrow. The silence in heaven is the final moment of stillness before the greatest event in history, the return of Christ. It signifies the end of mercy and the beginning of judgment. It is the moment when heaven holds its breath, knowing that the King is about to take back his throne. Are you ready for that day?